What's going on, everybody? So today I want to talk about farming Paragon levels and something that I came across while logging all the Greater Rift XP. I got a spreadsheet detailing it, and it's actually insane what I ended up finding out and how powerful, actually going out and doing a lot of the research yourself, because you oftentimes hear, including myself, people say run 2 minutes Greater Rifts. That's going to be the best way to get basically progress your character. Now, if you're talking about loot, 100%. We already mentioned, we talked about loot a lot. I actually want to do another video on it, but running faster rifts for loot is going to be the way to go, right? But in terms of XP farming, there's actually a better way to go about it, potentially depending on what you're capable of. With that being said, let's dive into the math and talk about it. All right, so here we are on the master sheet. I've been doing a ton of research on Greater Rift and XP farming because obviously that's like the main end game, right? Getting gear isn't super difficult. Getting your build set up, min-maxing it does take a while, but realistically, Paragon grind is the big end game where you're just constantly grinding that XP, right? So I've gone ahead and done some math for this because almost everyone says the same thing, 2 to 3 minute Greater Rifts. And I'm here to tell you that's not true necessarily, okay? That's a good general statement, but if you're looking to do a little bit more and get some more value out of your character or your time, you guys got to watch this video because this is super important that I get this through to you all. I feel like I've been stumbling upon a lot of commonly held misconceptions just because no one comes back and tests this stuff out. So I've gone ahead and done that. Now, first things first, I have the Greater Rifts off here, basically labeling the XP amount here in the middle. This is the completion amount. Now, with the season 28 bonuses, we have a permanent pool of reflection. Now, based on how the math works, the way I understand it is it's not actually the 25% amount that it says. In fact, it actually works for the Greater Rift itself as well, and it ends up being like 40 to 50% extra. However, it doesn't matter because it's always consistent, right? You're always going to get that same amount because pools of reflection are always constantly active. Now, if you have an enlightened shrine, that's a little bit different and that could change things as well. But in terms of just strict static, right? We have pools of reflection, we have the base XP and all that stuff. We're going to keep things consistent and limit our variables. Now, that's a lot of words. What does this mean? Well, here's the Greater Rift completion XP here, this blue highlighted area that I'm highlighting right here. This is not also including the monsters that you're killing in the Greater Rifts. Generally speaking, it's like split half and half in terms of XP, roughly in terms of XP you get inside the Rift, as well as the completion XP that you get from completing the Rift. Now, also on top of that, it scales differently depending on the XP bonuses you have. So you potentially could get more from completing the Rift than you do in the Rift, but keep in mind that we're just basing this off of the completions of the Greater Rifts. The XP within the Rifts are going to reflect the same amount, assuming, because you're gonna have to kill the same amount of monsters to actually complete the Greater Rift anyways, so it's roughly going to be the same. Now, what you'll notice is that the percent difference between each of these XP amounts from the previous is about 5%. It is consistent throughout the entire thing, which is really nice. Now, what you'll notice here is, actually don't even know what this number is. It's 100,000. We have 100,000 here. This is million. So this is 23 billion XP here that we're getting for Greater Rift completion. And then as soon as you go about 14 tiers up, it's a roughly double. So you can see about 104 is when it doubles and 90 is when it's halved. Okay, so 90 is 23 billion and then 104 is 46 billion. So roughly every 14 GR tiers that you're going up, you're getting double the experience from that GR tier. Okay, those are some just some interesting things to note. Now, because of this percent difference, all you need to do is if you're getting 5% extra XP, if you're running the Rift 5% slower, then that is totally fine because that's going to give you the same amount of XP per minute. And that's what I wanted to talk about today. So you can see here, the GRs on the right-hand side are labeled as such. And you'll notice that the time it takes, I just assumed a base amount of 2 minutes, right? So 120 seconds in order to complete a Greater Rift at GR 90. This is a pretty average time. Again, you can enter any time in here that you want, but 2 minutes was just what I chose on average, right? And you notice the XP per minute is exactly the same here. Despite even at 120, running a 518 second Rift, which is, let me just do the math real quick here. That is an 8.6 minute 120. 8.6 minute. That is the same experience as 90. Think about that for a second, guys. 8.6 minute GR120 is the same XP as a 2-minute GR90. That is absurd. Just to give you guys an idea on how crazy this truly is. Now, it makes sense, right? Because again, if we go by 14 GR tiers, 14 increases 104, and then 118 is roughly 4 times GR90 in terms of XP, right? And if we multiply this time by 4, that's 480 seconds. And then we go 2 more GR tiers up, and roughly, again, we are reaching roughly the same amount of time associated with the XP. But again, this idea that you have to run at smaller time ratios is really not necessarily true. Again, if you're only focused on XP. Now, granted, I don't recommend you run 8.6 minute GR120s. That doesn't really make a ton of sense because you're gonna really limit the loot that you're gonna get, right? But there's only so fast, like the GRs can only get so fast. Around 1 minute to 1 minute 30 is about as fast as you can get realistically. And so even though you may not be able to, let's say, run a 4-minute, 3-minute GR120, running a GR90, even though it's a minute, isn't necessarily, amazing because, well, you might be able to run, let's say, a GR100 and only extend the time slightly, but not a massive amount. Again, if you're extending it by a 5% time difference, then you're getting the exact same XP. So as I want to say once again, if you're only looking for XP, you should just be doing decently high rifts comparatively to your previous other ones, as long as you're getting the time back. What does this mean? Well, let's say I'm able to beat a GR90 in that 2 minutes, but I'm able to beat our GR95 in roughly 2 minutes and 15 seconds, right? Let's say my movement speed isn't that great, and I'm playing, let's say, a wizard build, the Tall Rasha build that is running the Grand Vizier that has, that very, not necessarily super slow, but it's only got that teleport, and it's kind of difficult compared to like a God DH, which can easily run, 2 minute 30 rifts easily, consistently. The Tall Rasha Wizard ends up around that 3 minute 330 mark. Well, yes, a GR, like going 10 GRs above might give you another minute on your time, but that's worth it in terms of XP per minute. And that's what I wanted to get across. So again, it really depends on what build and what, character you're running, what type of movement speed you have, what loot you want. Do you want extra primals and stuff like that? Because again, farming primals, it's going to reward lower speed GRs because you're going to get more loot, right? That's super important to know. Loot does not have a factor in this, but if you care about loot, then you want to run the faster rifts. In terms of XP, you're going to want to find that break point where you're getting the most amount of XP compared to the time that you're running. So don't just look at a rift and say, oh, I'm running a 4-minute rift and that's bad, right? Because that's not necessarily true. To give you guys an example here, on my God DH, I can run 110s pretty soundly at about 2 minutes, 2 minutes, 30 seconds, right? But on my wizard, I can run 120s easily within about 3 minutes, 3:30, around that time. That's on average. And if we pop back over to the spreadsheet, right, and we look, if I'm running 110s, right, if I'm running 110s here at 62, what is it, 62 billion? Yeah, so 62 billion at 110s, and then I'm running 1 trillion XP at 120s, right, or 100 billion, sorry, not 1 trillion, but 100 billion, then if I'm only extending the time that I'm taking by roughly 60 seconds, well, that's really a massive increase in XP per minute. Again, it's not necessarily 60 seconds because it could sometimes be even less than that. And that's what I want to consider for you all. Okay, this is one of the reasons why Tall Rasha Meteor Wizard, despite being sometimes slower, unless you're running like Aether Walker and you're running like mass teleport builds, is going to be better because the XP that you're getting actually scales quite nicely as you're able to farm higher and higher GR tiers. So again, this is just to call attention to it. There's no massive like, okay, you need to do this specific thing for our specific character. This is just a general strategy that you're going to want to apply. This method, this idea of what GR tier should I farm really depends on how fast you're able to do it compared to the other GR tiers that you're able to farm. And I want to encourage people to not necessarily think of, okay, 4-minute GR tiers are bad. It's just a matter of how fast you're able to do the previous one and how fast you're able to do this one, and then you have to compare the two. Now, I want to build a sort of calculator so that you guys can figure out, okay, what GR tier should I be doing based on the XP that I'm getting. And I hope to have that on the spreadsheet later on. I will have this linked in the comment section or in the description down below on every future video from here on out. So if you guys want to use it, feel free to, check it out and use it for yourself and just look over my math if you want. But again, this is something that a lot of people just don't question because they hear 2-minute GRs and that's it. But this is actually something that I think you should do a little bit more research if you're looking for just XP. Once again, I will say it a fourth time here because I guarantee you, even though I've said it 4 times, someone will leave a comment. If you're looking for loot, run the shorter rifts. That's just what you have to do, right? Because you're not going to get more loot by running 8-minute GR 120s versus 2-minute GR 90s. It's the same, roughly the same loot in terms of amounts, although we talked about that. GR 100 roughly going to be the same as GR 120. So that is going to be what you're going to want to look for, is faster rifts. So hopefully this helps, guys. I know that Paragon level grind is basically what I've been doing for the past couple of days. I haven't really done anything else, but I've been testing a lot of things, so it's been a little bit slow going because I've been testing GR 90s, testing GR 100s, which is way slower XP. Because again, I can do GR 90s at like 1 minute 32 minutes, and I could do GR 110s at like 2 minutes, 2 minutes 30 seconds. So I'm massively reducing my XP by going to 90, testing out things. But it's for some videos, so I hopefully you guys enjoy. And if you guys do, please be sure to sub to the channel, guys, and also like this video if you did find this helpful or a little bit interesting. Would really appreciate it. With that being said, hopefully I'll see you for the next video.